Welcome to the Global Education Station Presents. I'm Annette Levesque, your host, education and technology strategist, and author of eLearning Gold, the ultimate guide for leaders. In each episode, we explore innovative ideas and best practices in education, connecting with directors, CEOs, authors, and thought leaders. Together, we'll share stories and insights to inspire and engage learners globally. Welcome back, everyone. I'm excited to introduce my guest today, Eric Curts, a trailblazer in education with nearly 30 years of experience in the classroom, government, and nonprofit sectors. Eric works as an Edtech specialist in Ohio and provides training to schools and organizations around the world. He's a Google-certified trainer and innovator, sharing all of his Edtech resources on his website at 𝗘𝘅𝗽𝗲𝗰𝘁.com. Hello, Eric.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here chatting today. Excited to see what we're going to talk about.
Thank you so much for being here. And just for everyone else, I met Eric recently. I was in one of his sessions as an incognito student at the Future of Education Technology Conference in Orlando. And Eric, okay, that center was massive. I think that might officially, in my 25 plus career, be the largest conference hall and conference I've ever been to.
It is definitely a large one. I would probably compare it to something like ISTE. I would say for me, probably ISTE has been the largest event that I've been at, but FETC is right up there with it. I've been attending for quite a few years, and I remember my first few years just feeling overwhelmed, trying to be able to find my next session and get from one end to the other. And I'm feeling like I got it kind of figured out now. And they were kind to me. They put most of my sessions in the same room or the same general area. So I was not having to run quite as far. There have been years where I had a session on the north end and a session on the south end, and I was really getting my steps in, but they were a little bit more kind to me this year.
I agree. I actually texted back home that it was not even 10 a.m. and I had my 6,000 steps in.
There you go. Yes, exactly. Yes.
But it was fabulous. I loved your session on AI and chatbots, and it got me thinking that I have a lot of educators tugging on me quite a bit, asking about some of the new tools that are out for schools and school boards. And I was
Yeah.
wondering if you could share maybe a couple of your favorite AI tools for schools.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Now, that's a hard one. So I'm going to preface this by saying, uh, I'm going to pick obviously a few here, but there's going to be ones I don't end up including, and it is not because there's anything lesser about them. It's just you got to pick something. So I will, though, either now or later at any point. I'm happy to share resources where people can find more. So there's a lot more tools than we're going to hit here. So yeah, how about we start with something like Brisk? Is that a good place to begin? Does that sound
Let's
good?
do it.
Excellent. Let's do it. So one of my favorite EdTech tools out there when it comes to AI is Brisk Teaching. If folks aren't familiar with Brisk, and I should say this in general about all of my tools, I only share AI tools that have a robust free version. Now, almost all of them have a paid version, and that's good. I want these companies to make money and keep making awesome things, so that's good. But it's so important because I work with so many schools that have, some with budgets, some without, a lot of different situations. I only want to share tools that offer a robust free version so you can get good use out of it, even if you're not paying for the premium version. So that's going to be true for all the things I talk about, Brisk included. So Brisk is a little different. A lot of AI tools, you end up going to the website. So you go to the website and maybe you paste something in and ask it to re-level it or change things or create things. Brisk kind of flips that around. So Brisk is a Chrome extension, meaning you're going to install this. It's a tool you install. So from your Chrome browser, you install the extension. And once you've got it installed, it follows you everywhere. And that's what's really cool about it is if you wanted to create a quiz, create a slideshow, re-level a text, whatever the case is, rather than you taking your content, going to a tool, pasting it in. Basically, Brisk just follows you wherever you go. So, for example, if I was on an article and maybe it's like, okay, I've got this article. This is something my students are going to be reading, or I'm going to be drawing from this article to teach a concept in class. If I've got the Brisk extension installed, I just get this little icon down in the bottom right-hand corner, which is the Brisk icon. And when I click on that icon, it's going to pop up a little menu. And there's 5 main categories of things that it does. Probably the most common that people think of is the Create button. When you click on Brisk, there's a Create button there. That menu basically says, hey, what do you want to create based on this article you're currently reading? Now, I'm using an article as an example, but honestly, it can be almost anything. You can go to a YouTube video, and Brisk can use the transcript from that video to create content. You can be inside of a Google document. You can open up a PDF. You can be using a form, a slideshow. Pretty much any content that you can bring up, Brisk can process. So let's say it is an article. I can click on the Create button, and I've got loads of options there. I can create a quiz, a rubric, guided notes, a presentation. I can make DOK leveled questions based off of that, on and on and on down the line. There's so many of them there. And it's as simple as clicking on the thing you want to create. If you want to give it some additional instructions, you can, but you don't have to. Picking a grade level that you want it appropriate for, and then clicking the Brisk It button, which I always say makes me hungry because it sounds like brisket. But you click that Brisket button there, and that's it. It now consumes the content from the YouTube video, the article, the PDF, the document, whatever it is, and it generates the lesson plan, the rubric, the DOK questions, the guided notes, the quiz, the slideshow, whatever it is. So boom, right there. It's a great way to generate content. Now, it does a lot of other things. We won't go into that much detail on the others, but just to let people know, there is a change level button. That's one of the other 5 things it does, is you can take any content and re-level it so that it's more appropriate for students, as well as changing the language at the same time if you wish. There's a third button, which is the Give Feedback button. That one is if you want to generate personalized feedback on student work. So you can pull up the student's writing, for example, in a Google Doc, hit the Give Feedback button, and you can give, feedback on what they've done well, what they might need to work on. You can upload a rubric to it, and it can give feedback based on the rubric. There is a 4th button, which is the Inspect Writing button. This is one that allows you to see the work a student has put into writing. So when you've got the student's writing pulled up and you click that button, it basically plays back a video of the document being created. It's tapping into the Google Docs version history feature, and it's showing you, the student writing. So if a student did, for example, copy and paste rather than writing, you'll see that. It'll actually be very clear that, well, they didn't write this whole thing, this whole section. That came from somewhere else. We better have a conversation. And the 5th and final thing that it does at the moment, anyway, I'm sure it's constantly growing, is it does something called Boost Activities. And so that button allows you to take any content and create an activity that students can interact with. That's probably what we were talking about in the session that you attended, because I was talking about using custom chatbots for student learning. Almost everything I just mentioned prior to this is more like teacher facing. How can it support you as a teacher? Wonderful, great, love that. That's fantastic. But if we stop there, if that's all we do, I think we're missing out on the full potential of AI, which is to provide personalized, individualized learning experiences for our students. Now, you got to make sure you've done everything right. Your school has to approve it. Make sure you've got the student data privacy policy signed and agreed to and all that kind of stuff. But once all that's out of the way, using a tool like this with your students can be really transformative, because basically I can go to that article, that YouTube video, that whatever, and I can say, I want to boost it. When I click on that boost button, it allows me to choose all kinds of different student activities. And it could be something like, I want to create a tutoring session. And so if I do that, basically it's going to make an activity where the student will join and the AI is going to tutor them on the topic there. Or I could do a character chat where they're going to speak to a character from that video or that article or whatever that might be. I can do an exit ticket so that after they've read the article or watched the video, it can quiz them on those things. And so basically what it's doing, it's creating a custom activity that I'm going to simply give the students a link. They're going to click that link. They're going to chat with the chat bot. And while they do, it's going to check off how they meet the objectives that I've set for that activity. And as a teacher, I can monitor the whole thing. I can read everything the student types, everything the AI types. So that is a really quick overview of Brisk. I'm certainly happy to go into more details if that's, causes you to think of any questions or whatever. I'm happy to clarify or go deeper into there. But certainly a tool that I highly recommend for educators because you can use it right away. The free version is very robust and it can make an impact for you and your students. So I don't know. Any
It
thoughts
has
on
triggered a
Brisk?
couple of questions.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. So as you said, instead of having to copy and paste content into something like ChatGPT,
Yeah.
you install the browser extension. Must you be using Chrome for that? So that the Google.
Well, so I would say any browser that supports Chrome extensions. I have not personally tested it on other browsers, but keep in mind a wide range of browsers are built on Chromium, which is what powers the Chrome browser. So like, Microsoft Edge is basically Google Chrome with a Microsoft wrapper. A lot of them are that way. So I know technically you can run Chrome extensions in any browser that is built on Chromium, but practically I have not tested it. So that's a good thing to poke a stick at. I probably should do that sometime. I have not tested that, but obviously for sure it works in Chrome. I'm optimistic that it would work in other browsers that support that same extension.
Now, being an extension, so from what you were saying, we're going to activate the Brisk when we're looking at something or using something that we then want to perform and execute one of Brisk's custom actions for teachers with. We would then activate it. So it's not from a privacy perspective. It's not, a companion we've installed that's reading everything we do. Just for teachers, maybe I wanted to clarify working from home.
I appreciate that. That's a good question. So, yes, you have to be the one who activates it. Brisk is not like, maybe if you have a home device, like an Amazon Echo, or if you're trying to interact with Siri or things like that, or I've got a Google Home device or something. Those are always kind of listening for a keyword so that they can jump in and help. No, that would not be the case here. This is a Chrome extension that you have to click on. Until you click on it, it's just waiting for you to do something, but it is in no way monitoring anything you're doing. And then when you do click on it, it's again only going to process what you provide to it, like the particular article or YouTube video or document that you're wanting it to create resources for. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yes, everybody is suspicious of their Google speaker these days.
Well, and I think it's important. Privacy and security, especially for schools. It's becoming a bigger and bigger issue, and I appreciate that these companies are very forthright with, okay, here's our terms of service, here's our privacy policy. They're willing to sign agreements with schools to say, here's what we do and don't do with data, and I think that's really important.
That's great to know. Now, you also mentioned teachers have the ability to an extent, monitor some student activities. Can you talk a little bit more? So how does it, from a student end, when a student's using Brisk, if we're using it as an extension, how does the student connect to it?
Good point. So the student does not use the extension. Nothing is getting installed on the student's end. What I'm going to describe here is actually really common for most of these kind of tools. So I'm going to describe what Brisk does, but in essence, I'm describing what Magic School does, with student rooms. I'm describing what school AI does with spaces. There's others, 𝗪𝗁, Flint, Phobiz, any of them that if there's a tool where the student is interacting with the AI, this is typically going to be the case. So I'll describe Brisk, but you can probably apply this to all of them. So a couple of key things here is these tools are striving to be school safe and student friendly. So they all have an option, or they're just set up this way. It just depends on the tool to allow the student to connect simply through a link. That's really all it is. As a teacher, I go in and I create this boost activity, and it just gives me a link. I can push that link out through Google Classroom or Schoology or Canvas or D2L or whatever. Or I can give them a QR code, or I can give them a code to type in. But it's, in essence, it's a link. When the student clicks that link, they all have the option that the student can simply type in their name, maybe just their first name, maybe just their initials, and join this session. So that's a big piece of that data privacy thing. Students are not required to create an account, to provide an email address, to log in, to come up with a password. None of that. The teacher's creating an account for themselves. The students are not required to do that. Now, some of them have that option, but they all have the ability not to have to do that. So basically, from the student's point of view, the teacher said, hey, I've got an activity for you. You know that YouTube video you need to watch? Click this link and you can chat with an AI that's going to help tutor you through that, or it's going to quiz you afterwards to see what you understand. Or, hey, we've been reading this, story. Click this link and have a character chat with, with Jay Gatsby from the Great Gatsby, or whatever. We're going to have this activity. And so the student, their experience, they click a link. It says, what's your name? They put in their name, and that's it. At this point, they start having a conversation. In that case, the AI is going to, put some content on there for them to interact with. The student will then, reply, and they'll have a chat back and forth. While that's going on, most all of these tools have support features like text-to-speech. If a student maybe struggles with reading the content, there'll be a button they can click and it will speak it. It'll read it aloud to them. That's very common with these sort of tools. Conversely, there'll be a little microphone button in the tool where they can click and they can speak if they're not the best typist, and they can just speak their answers. There will be a translate feature of some sort. There'll be a button somewhere they can click to say, put this in Spanish, and the whole entire conversation switches into Spanish. That's pretty consistent across Brisk, School AI, Magic School, all of these tools trying to provide this really supportive environment for the student to have that interaction. Now, where the student's experience might be a little different in Brisk, you may have heard me allude to the idea of objectives. When you set up a Brisk Boost activity, it'll generate a suggested list of objectives based on the video or the article or whatever, and you can edit those however you want. But Brisk really is looking to see, are the students checking off specific learning objectives? So while the student is chatting, the student will see the objectives at the top, and they'll start getting colored in. They'll start getting checked off as they're doing the chatting. So the student can see, I took care of that objective. I explained something well enough that the AI is convinced, oh, you do understand that. So that's really good feedback for the student to see that they are meeting those. Now, if a student doesn't understand something, no worries. They can just simply say, I don't get this, can you help me? And the AI is not going to do their work for them, but it's going to meet them where they're at. It's going to re-explain things. It's going to take a different approach to say, well, let's think about it this way. And that's what I love about it. It's personalized. It's differentiated for every student. The student who really gets it and wants to go deeper, it'll take them deeper. The student who is struggling, it's going to help reteach and bring them along and get them to where they need to be. So really, that's the student's experience. They're not installing anything. They're not creating an account, and they can really use any device. It's pretty much fine. Whether it's a Chromebook, a Mac, a PC, a tablet, whatever, they can interact with it. Now, while that's happening, I mentioned the teacher being able to monitor. So what that basically means is any of these tools, Brisk included, they all do this. There's going to be a teacher dashboard, and on that dashboard, they can bring up the session that is running. And it will list every student who is connected to the session, and there'll be some kind of an option to click on that student and read their conversations. Whatever the student typed in, however the AI responded, there will be that transcript there. And that's good for a lot of reasons. I mean, one, it's good because the teacher's able to monitor for any concerns, any misuse, things like that. But on a positive sense, it's giving information to a teacher that the teacher can use to then support the student even better. Think about, a student who might be quiet in class and might not speak up as much. Well, they may speak to the AI, and now the teacher can be like, now I know what this student is struggling with, what they do understand, what they don't understand, their interests. This is a lot. This is neat. It's like sometimes we think of technology, and I totally get this. We think of technology as driving a gulf, a wedge between people. Like, because of technology, people just don't connect anymore. It's always technology. Well, this is one example where it's going the other way. This is technology that's actually helping a teacher learn more about their students and understand more about where they're at and what they're struggling with, and how they can then intervene so that they can say, okay, I need to grab these 5 students and I'm going to do a study session with them because I realize they are struggling with this. So while the AI is helping everybody, now I have more time to work with this smaller group because I've been able to identify what their particular needs are. And that describes Brisk, but it does apply to pretty much all of these. That's what I mean when I say monitoring, is that they're able to see those conversations there. In
Yeah,
their
it sounds like it's a great tool for teachers as a time saver, a
Yes.
great supplementary activity to what's going on in the classroom. And I love the idea of it green lighting as a student's learning. That sort of activates our brains in the
Absolutely.
immediate feedback and also our rewards based, that we talk about, that creates engagement, alternate forms of engagement within the classroom. So that is fabulous. You also mentioned Magic School, which is another popular one that I'm
Very
getting
much
asked
so.
a lot about. What are some of your favorite things about Magic School, Eric, and how is it different from Brisk?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of similarities for sure. But as far as how they compare, so Magic School likewise has a teacher facing component and a student facing component. Just like Brisk, I can, create content and I can also have student interactions. It is not an extension, it is a website. So it is something where I'm going to go to the Magic School website, and from the Magic School website, I'm going to generate content. So on the Magic School website, when I log in as a teacher, I'm going to see a list of, I don't know, I think we're up to about 80 or 90 AI tools at the moment. My last count, it was somewhere around there. And basically, what I mean by AI tools is you're going to go to the Magic School site and you're going to see things like create a lesson plan, create a rubric, create questions for a YouTube video, give feedback on writing, generate DOK leveled questions, help with writing an IEP, things like that. All these tools, when you click on them, basically what they're going to do is they're going to give you a little teeny form that's just going to ask you a couple of questions like, oh, yeah, hey, I'd love to help you make a lesson plan. Tell me, what's the grade level? Tell me what's your topic, or, what are you trying to achieve with the lesson? Is there a certain set of standards we're trying to align to? Stuff like that. And it'll be different for each thing. If it's a rubric or whatever, there'll be 2, 3, 4 questions that it's going to ask you. So you'll fill those in and then click generate, and then ta-da, it will generate the lesson plan, it'll generate the sentence starters, it'll generate the accommodations, whatever it is you're asking it to do. Just for clarity so that people understand what's going on here, basically this is acting as a go-between between you and a tool like ChatGPT. I believe, I don't think I'm wrong, I believe at the moment Magic School, that is the back end. So Magic School, all of these tools, even Brisk, they don't have their own AI. They don't have their own, AI system. They are piggybacking off of, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's Gemini, whether it's Claude from Anthropic. They're piggybacking off of a large language model. And so what they're doing is they're doing the work for you. They're a go-between. So if I was a teacher and I went over to, ChatGPT and I'm like, I've heard so many great things about this. I don't know what to type in. I just get this blinking cursor sitting there and I'm not sure. I want to make a rubric, but I don't even know what to tell it. Well, that's where a tool like Magic School comes in. I can go there and say, I want to make a rubric, and Magic School says, let me help you with that. You tell me these three things, and then it takes your content, puts it into its own custom prompt. It goes over to ChatGPT, submits it for you, gets the response, boop, 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 brings it back and gives you the response. So it's more of a friendly educational wrapper that is around ChatGPT. I have found this to be a really great way to help bring teachers on board with AI so that rather than just saying, hey, here's ChatGPT, go for it, you can send them to Magic School and be like, hey, here's 80 things that AI can help you with. Click on any one of these, type in your information, it's going to generate. And again, it's not a one and done thing. Once it generates it, you can ask a follow-up. You can be like, oh, that was great, but can my lesson plan, let's have it include more technology, or I've got a high ESL population. How can we accommodate for that? And it'll regenerate and things like that. So it's an ongoing conversation as well. But I find that's a really good on-ramp. It's a really nice way to ease people into this. Secondly, it's a great way to expand people's understanding of what can AI do. They maybe have seen a few examples, but I've had teachers, I was just doing a training yesterday where a teacher said exactly that. Getting to just see all the possibilities broadens my mind. And I go, "Ah, I never even thought. Yeah, you could do that with AI. That's a really neat idea." And it helped them to grow further. So that's what most people think of when they think of Magic School. They think of that teacher facing thing. For what it's worth, just like Brisk has a boost activity for students, Magic School has something they call rooms. We'll just say in general, it's the same experience except for a few small things. So the big difference with rooms is when you go in as a teacher to create one for a student, it's it's more of a situation where you get to choose which AI chatbots or AI tools you put in the room. So with Brisk or School AI or a lot of these, the student is pretty much getting one chatbot they're talking to. They click the link and they talk to the character chatbot, or they talk to the tutor, or they talk to the exit ticket chatbot. With Magic School, instead of creating just a chatbot, you're creating a room, as they called it. And when you create that room, it'll give you like 50 chatbots to pick from. And so you can then say, you know what? Maybe I do just want to put one thing in the room. That's okay. You could say, I'm just going to drop a character chatbot in the room and that's it. That's fine. But you could say, no, no, no. I'm going to put, 3, 4, 5, 10 chatbots in the room. And then when the student clicks that link, which it's a link just like any of them are, they can see all of the chatbots you've put in there and they can pick which one makes sense for them at that moment. So, maybe you make a writing support room, let's call it that, and what do you drop in there? Maybe you drop in something like the writing feedback bot. Maybe you put in the idea generator bot. Maybe you put in the expand my idea bot, the literary devices bot, the sentence starters bot. You can add all of these in there and they can pick the one that's going to help them at that moment. Another approach to this is you can build more of a guided experience. So I think the examples that I was showing in the training we were doing, I don't remember exactly which one I showed, but I had a couple there. One of them was a writing activity where the end goal was the student was supposed to write an essay on the causes of the Boston Tea Party. And so what I did was I put 4 chatbots in that room. 2 of them were character chatbots, and I told the one character chatbot that it was going to be Samuel Adams, and the other was going to be Thomas Hutchinson, 2 opposing viewpoints on the Boston Tea Party. And so when the student goes into the room, they can talk to Samuel Adams and get his take. They can talk to Thomas Hutchinson and get his take. Then I added a research assistant bot if the student wanted to learn more and ask questions. And then finally, I added the writing feedback bot. So after they've done their chatting and their researching, they go to the writing feedback, they put their finished essay in there, and then the writing feedback bot gives them personalized feedback based on a rubric that I uploaded into it ahead of time. And now they get personalized feedback and then they can edit and improve their writing. So in that case, it's not just like, hey, here's a room, just go use what you want. I actually created more of a guided educational experience that I want them to work through. So slightly different. But ultimately, yeah, ultimately, all of these are trying to do the same thing: provide students with an experience that is safe, that is monitored, that allows them to interact with an AI that's going to accommodate and differentiate for their specific needs, meet them where they're at.
hmm It sounds like Magic School is a really great place for teachers to, as you said, to start if they haven't, done a lot with AI. And as ChatGPT, it's kind of like the wild, wild west. You can do so much with it,
Yep.
but there's things it does better than others depending on how familiar you are with
Sure.
prompt generation.
That's right.
And I've actually been saving some of my prompts because sometimes it
Yes.
takes a while to get to the place
I agree
where
with
you
you.
want it to generate. And it does silly things where you want it to generate what it is you're seeking. And so I'm saving my
Yeah.
prompts to do that same. And that, in essence, is creating, once you do that, you're creating a chatbot for a specific
Absolutely.
function.
Yeah.
So by having these chatbots within Magic School that are configured to just provide writing feedback or just perform more simple functions, but they've been pre-configured by somebody who is familiar with prompt engineering and education, it's going to
Exactly.
make it much simpler for
Yes.
teachers, and they
Yeah.
can, as
Yeah.
you said, create this guided experience related to what they're teaching within their rooms rather than having, all 100 tools in one place. I like that, Eric.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, you've definitely summarized that very well. I think I, I I would have a hard time thinking of being a teacher and not using both of those tools between Magic
Mhm.
School and Brisk. And again, they both have a robust free version, and even if you're not using it with students, even if your school isn't there yet, like, hey, listen, we're not there yet. We don't have the privacy policy signed and the parent permissions signed. Well, the teachers can still use these tools, though, to help generate slideshows and lesson plans and differentiated content and choice boards and things like that. So the teachers can benefit from them today, with the ultimate goal of hopefully getting the students to use them as well when that's appropriate.
Mhm. Maybe we'll switch gears a little bit,
Sure.
and maybe you could tell me, Eric, a little bit about. I know you have a book out, Control Alt Achieve. That's a very,
I do.
very
Yes.
cool title.
Yes.
And
Yes.
your website. Where did the book come from? What was your mission with that? And what are the goals of your website? Because you put out a lot of really cool free information for teachers.
Absolutely. So the website and the book are both called Control Alt Achieve. So the website has been around, I guess, I'm probably coming up on, let's see, I'm coming up on 10 years. Wow, it'll be 10 years at the end of this year that I've had the website running. I've always had websites, but it was 10 years ago. I'm like, okay, I need to put all this in one place. There was a time where I just kept buying domain names because, oh, this would be fun. I'll do a site for this and a site for this and a site for that. I'm like, okay, that's not working. Let's put it all in one place. Now, I might have named it something different today, but 10 years ago, I thought it was funny. So, if you've ever used a Windows computer and they freeze and such, there's a
Mhm.
keyboard combination of the Control Alt Delete buttons that will then reboot the computer. Well, that was maybe a lot more common 10 years ago than it is now. But I thought, well, okay, sometimes in education, we get stuck in ruts. We find ourselves doing the same thing, or we, get frozen. Let's reboot our classrooms. And so that's what Control Alt Achieve was meant to be, is let's reboot our classrooms with technology to help, impact teaching and learning. And so over the years, over the last, 9, 10 years now, that's what I've pumped into that blog, into that website. People can go there and find hundreds and hundreds of blog posts, training videos, projects, templates, resources, so many things. And it's changed a little bit over the years as to what my focus is. If you go there now, yeah, the last 2 years, you're going to see a lot of AI things, lots of AI things. Prior to that, though, I'd say my biggest focus was on creative uses of tools that we already have. And a big part of that was the Google Suite. Google provides their suite for free to schools. So a lot of schools have the Google Suite. A lot of schools use that. Even if they're not paying for the paid tiers, they're just using the free version of it. And so a lot of what you'll see, years and years of stuff you'll see on the site, is me saying, okay, so we've got this Google Suite. What can we do with it that's more creative? How can we take a tool that we've already got and use it in a creative way? And you know what? Educators are great for doing that. You create just about any tool, and we'll be like, okay, I know you made it for A, but I'm going to use it for B because here's something cool I can do with it. So take something like Google Slides. I'm like, hey, you can use that to create stop motion animation. You can use that to create choose your own adventure stories. You can use that to create ebooks. You can use that for, graphic design. You can use that for drag and drop activities. And that's basically what I ended up doing for years, is saying, okay, you've already got the tools. Don't go buy something else. Use the tools you've got, and let's find creative ways to use, docs for blackout poetry or whatever the case is. That is what the book is. So yeah, the Control-Alt-Achieve book, that's been out for quite a number of years now. That book was a compilation at that time of what were some of my absolute favorite creative ways that I had compiled through my blog to use Google tools. And I focused on docs, slides, sheets, and drawings. Those were the four that I focused on. So in the book, it's like 8, 9, 10 examples for each one of them, using sheets for, pixel art or whatever the case might be. There's just so many things there. And that's what the book did. It basically put it all into one spot so you could easily go through there and pick out activities to do with your students. And the website, of course, still reflects all that. All that stuff is still there. None of it is gone. It's always there. Just, yeah, I would say over the last couple of years, more of a focus toward AI, since that is the transformative tool right now. But I still do trainings on those Google tools. At the FETC conference, I'd say it was probably half and half. Half of my sessions were on AI to support students, AI for grading, AI, for all those things. But then I did a session on, creative uses of slides. I did one on Google Sheets, so absolutely. So I still enjoy those very much, and I think they're fantastic. But yeah, that might give a little bit of a perspective on what the book and the site is all about.
Fabulous. No, tons of schools are still using Google and G
Yes,
Suite. And I hate to
absolutely.
say it, I kind of whispered that I'm a little bit more, I come from more the corporate Microsoft stuff. So
Yeah.
even I did my book finish after AI was launched. Thank you so much, ChatGPT, for coming out after toiling for 5
Of course.
hard years
Oh
on
yeah. Oh yeah.
my book
Yeah.
for distance learning after COVID.
I know.
But as you said, the technology with the Google, it never gets old, and they're
No,
completely different systems, but they're so popular because there is a wide range of tools that are available for free
absolutely.
to teachers. What do you, with all this crazy, awesome experience and knowledge that you have, Eric, and you explain things so well to everyone, what are you up to this year?
What am I up to this year? Well, more of the same. So basically, um, so I still work full time for the local school systems here. This is year 33 for me. And I am what we call here a technology integration specialist or a tech coach or something like that. My job is to support teachers with using technology. So I work at a regional service center. We support about 35 school districts in Northeast Ohio. So that is still, a big part of what I do day in and day out. But then on the side, I do like my own consulting business, as we've talked about. I travel the country. I'd like to travel internationally if anybody's listening and wants me to come to your country. But I've hit pretty much every state in the U.S. doing keynotes, workshops, conferences, day-long trainings with schools, whatever the case, virtual trainings, all sorts of things like that. And yeah, That's what my schedule is. Last year, I think I had I've got the numbers somewhere. I think I got to 20 states, and I did 300 training sessions over the course of last year.
Wow.
So this year doesn't seem to be changing. It looks like we're on that same same pace. I'm going to be, flying all over the country, working with schools and going to conferences and providing training at the same time. I really try to continually add things to my website. And so, one or two posts a week, my weekly newsletter where I share out, here's the new things that I have posted, and here's some really cool things I came across on the internet. That's one of the easiest things I can recommend to people is go to the website, click on the newsletter link at the top and sign up for that. It's free, and it's an easy way to stay in the loop on everything that I'm doing there. So, that's going to be my big focus this year is to, again, continue traveling, training. Probably the focus will stay very AI related as I continue to dive deeper into the AI tools that we have and try to keep pushing the needle a little further. Like, okay, let's take the next step. Now we're getting comfortable with the basics. Okay, how can we really transform things? How can we go farther with these tools? So I am a lifelong learner, and my gosh, AI has made it a requirement to be so. I'm excited that at this far into my education career, I'm still learning something new every day.
Me too. I think we all have to be lifelong learners at this point, just to even
Absolutely.
retain the skill sets that we used to have. It's no longer a go to school, learn a skill set, apply it for the next 30 years. School
Not a
is an
chance.
integrated part.
Not a chance.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that's good. I think that's so important because that's the model. That's what I want to show students. I think, educators, I get it. Sometimes we can get a little intimidated by that. Like, I'm afraid I'm going to, stand up in front of the class and I won't know how to do something with technology, or it'll go wrong and I won't know how to fix it. Or I've heard about this, but I'm afraid to use it because I'm not an expert on it. And here's the thing. It's okay. Yes, definitely check things out. Don't just go blindly into things, but don't think you have to be an expert because number one, you're never going to be. I do this for a living and I don't know all of the things. I'm constantly learning. So just let that go. You're not going to be an expert. You're not going to know everything. And then when you are doing stuff in class, if something goes wrong, awesome. It's a teachable moment. It's a chance for you to say, so guys, what should we do here? How can we poke a stick at this and figure out what to do to fix this, or how to, what's our next step here? Because that models for our students that we are lifelong learners. It shows them a growth mindset that we want in them. That again, like you said, it's not like, oh, I went to college, got all my knowledge, and now I'm going to apply it like a rubber stamp for the next 30 years. Not at all. We are lifelong learners, and we're inspiring our students to be so by modeling that with them. And, again, technology is going to go wrong. It's going to happen. We got to learn to roll with that, and that's okay.
I agree. And learning's, changing so quickly now that the only way for us to really gain new skill sets and knowledge is to dive in. It's not read the whole manual and then maybe test the waters a little bit. We have to be not afraid to just leap in and give it a try and see what happens. So
absolutely.
Where can educators, school boards, the website again, the best way to contact you, Eric, if they do want to reach out to you for one of your fabulous sessions?
Absolutely. So really the blog is the place to go. So 𝗘𝘅𝗽𝗲𝗰𝘁.com is the hub for everything. When you get to that site, there is a bunch of tabs across the top. One of them says connect. That's one of the easiest ways. If you go to 𝗘𝘅𝗽𝗲𝗰𝘁.com and you click on the Connect tab, that will tell you every possible way to stay in touch with me. It's going to have my email, my social media, my Facebook group, my newsletter. There's a link there to my PD catalog. I've got over, at this point, I don't know, 70 or 80 sessions in there. People can read through my PD catalog and see if there's if they want to work with me on, providing PD to the school, they can read all of those. I've also got a link to, of course, my YouTube channel, all of my webinars. And again, let me be really clear about this. All the stuff that you're going to find on the website there, it's free. There's not a paywall. There's not stuff behind something else. All of my videos you can watch for free, all of my blog posts. I release everything under a Creative Commons license, allowing people to use, adapt, reuse, modify any of my content. You don't need to ask my permission. All I ask is you leave a link back to where you got it from, and you keep it free. I make it free, you keep it free. Just put your own spin on it and go from there. But yeah, control-alt-achieve.com, easiest way to connect with me. And then, yeah, if a school wants to chat about, possible, trainings, workshops, things like that, all my contact info there is there. The PD catalog's there, and they can reach out and we can chat.
Perfect. That is amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Eric. You've really helped give us all a head start on some of the new cool tools like Brisk and Magic School and
Absolutely.
your insights. And I think that's really given a lot of people comfort on what are some of the first steps they can take to get started. So I really appreciate you sharing your expertise with our audience today.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thanks so much for the opportunity. Thanks for thinking of me and letting me be a part of the learning process. I really appreciate it.